Welcome to my very first video on my bullet journal inserts. These videos are hopefully going to help you, walk you through, if you can't come to a workshop, on kind of what I expected you would put into it, or what I thought you would put into it as I was drawing it. So the first one is just the cover, and I chose for February a love theme, and I choose love. Hopefully the world will get that we're all choosing love instead of hate, and so that's my little message. You can decorate or color this as you like. Same with the cover in February. You can decorate it and add little words, or you can just color it, leave it blank. It's up to you. The idea of the inserts is that they are hopefully going to guide you, but allowing you enough flexibility that you can do them and make them your own and make them work for your life. The first surprise spread I've decided to do, every month I'm going to do a surprise spread, and it'll be the first thing that you see. And this month I decided to do a level 10 life. This is from Hal Elrod's Miracle Morning book. And what you do is, for each of the 10 categories, you rate them on a level of 1 to 10. So 10 would be your perfect, say category 1 would be career and business. What would your perfect career and business look like? And then kind of feel like, how have you felt in the last maybe couple of weeks of how it is going, and where do you think you rate yourself? So then you would color in how much you think it is, and then maybe write a goal or two that you would like to do to improve that. And this spread will come back again in about 3 or 4 months, where you will reevaluate. So you do it about 4 times, 3 to 4 times a year, you'll reevaluate where you're at. So right now it's just a time shot of where do you feel you're at in any of these 10 categories. And I will show you mine in my my bullet journal. So this is my level 10 life, and my word for the year is intentional, and hopefully I have that in the screen. Yep. And so I've rated everything how I feel right now, and then I've added some of the ideas and goals that I would like to do coming up for the next 3 or 4 months. Okay. So the next page is a memories page. So this, you can do doodles, you can do different writing of things you want to remember. It can be something as simple as maybe something an animal did that was funny, or your kids that did was funny, or a big concert that you went to, or that the weather has been insane here in Ontario. It's been freezing, but then summer-like, so just anything like that. And then I've added this little box at the bottom called Currently, and what are you watching, reading, listening to, loving, making, and saving for? And this is just kind of like a time shot, so that when you look back in February 2018, you'll be like, oh my gosh, I totally remember that we used to be watching that, and just to bring back memories. Then I've done a goals this month. I find that this is a very helpful thing for me, so I thought I would put it in the inserts. What I do for the month is I pick 2 or 3 goals of, usually they're projects actually, that I want to work on. Sometimes it's a goal, but most of the time it's a project. And then I kind of, in another journal, have it broken down into 100 different steps. And so at the beginning of each week, I will be like, for this goal, I want to do these 2 or 3 steps this week. This goal, I want to do these 2 or 3 steps. And then maybe this goal, I'll do the same. I'm usually about 2, but I gave you 3 just in case. And so you have all weeks, and then you can kind of see that you're actually progressing through something in a goal when you break it down into lots of little steps. So that's why I've put this spread in. And then there's a room over here to give you a motivation quote, or if you would like to do a doodle, or if you want to use some washi tape, that's what that's for over there, or if you want notes. The next is just a regular calendar, nothing fancy here. You can then add everything that you would like to do. I color code mine. I have 3 children, and we are all over the place. So I have a color code, and you can add the color code at the bottom if you like, of what you want. So I have one color for my daughter, one color for one of my sons, another color for another son's, one for myself, one for my husband, one for my husband and I only together, and one for all the kids together. So I'm very color coded on my calendar. The next is a habit tracker, and I'll turn it this way and hopefully it stays in the screen. So a habit tracker, it can be used in 2 different ways. I use it both to track things that I want to know how often I do, and other things that I want to track to get me motivated to do more. So you just write it in here. There's all different ways you can fill out the habit tracker. You can just do a simple X. You could just color the box. If you go into my Instagram account, you'll see that I post quite often my different Zentangles. So I'll do a different Zentangle every month, and I usually have down here in the bottom what the Zentangle is if you want to know how to draw it. And so you just go, and every day you just kind of go through and you write what you're working on. There's lots of space here for a whole bunch of different ones. I use this category as kind of just daily life ones. And then I have a little box down here that I use more for my character development. So things that I'm working on, being more compassionate, being more creative, being more playful with my children. I will do that kind of down here. I separate them out, but you don't have to. You can just use them up. And I'm a big believer in sleep. If you know me very well at all, I'm very particular about my children's sleep, and I'm also very particular about my sleep. So tracking your sleep. And then again, another place for doodles or a motivational quote or washi tape or any decorating that you want to do. All right, and the next page is gratitude. Pretty self-explanatory. You just write 2 sentences, or if you want, just 1 sentence of things that you're grateful for each day. And that's it. And then there's a big place for doodling, quotes, more coloring. The next is the mood tracker. So this month I decided to do a heart. And the way this works is you pick a color for every emotion that you have down here. And I've left space that if you have different emotions, you don't necessarily have to stay to these. You can add more and just use those. And so we'll say the 1st of February, I'm super excited. I would take that color, I would find the 1st, and I would color in the 1. So there should be enough numbers. Some of them are maybe a little bit closer, so you might have to look closely at the numbers. Sorry about that. I'll draw a little bit better the next time. But yes, so that's how that can turn, and then you can decorate as you like. I would recommend, or I see this being, you would pick colors that are all kind of similar, like the pinks and the purples and maybe a yellow, maybe a red, depending on how red it is, and then it would actually be very the similar colors of the tones if you had that options in your pencil crayons or markers, because I think that would make it look really, really pretty. The idea of mood trackers is that you're taking moods, you're keeping track of them, which makes you more aware, and therefore when you're more aware you actually can make change, but also it allows you to take possibly a bad month, if you're very stressed or you're having a bad month, and you can see how beautiful it is. But you can also see that we're all up and down. If you look at a lot of mood trackers, you'll notice that our moods are never great all the time. They do go up and down, but you can still make something beautiful of them. And you can reflect back and say, hey, this month wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Felt like it was bad, but I have a lot of great, happy, excited days. So yeah. The next one is a financial report, because I kind of feel like we missed this in school. So I feel like the more we can bring awareness to it and on a monthly basis kind of keeping check, I think it's better for all of us. So I'm sure there's a lot of things on here that some people have and some people don't have. It's kind of be very generic. So if you don't have it, just kind of ignore that it's there. But an earned income, a portfolio income would be anything that comes from the bank. So any interest that you have, anything that you get from passive income, any businesses, or anything that's in your portfolio, stocks and bonds and those kinds of things. And then all your expenses. There's not a lot of room here, so you might have to bunch them up, like household expenses, personal expenses. You might have to, depending on how many you have. And then learning that a cash flow is income minus expenses, and then seeing every month what our cash flow is. And then assets and liabilities, again, you might not have all of these. The bank considers your home an asset. If you ever read Rich Dad Poor Dad, he would say that's not an asset. He would put it down here as liabilities, but I put it up here because most people know the bank's idea of an asset. But if you want to read a good book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki is a great book for getting a handle of your money. So then you put that in and your totals. If you have any debts, I've left room you can add both, add more. And then knowing that your net worth is your assets minus your liabilities. I've left a blank page in case you want to do another spread that you've come across and you love, and you can add your own. And then we get into the weeklies. So the weeklies would be something you would fill out every week. I probably Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on your schedule. I've left 2 boxes here. So what you would do is you add the date here. So February 1st is actually on Thursday. So you put 1, 2, 3, 4 there, the numbers. And then you can label these however they work for you. I personally use them for appointments, which means they have something that day that has a time, and then anything I have to do that day that doesn't have a time but has to be done that day, I would put here. But you could use it as home and work. You could use it as family and just you. Depending on what you kind of feel like you need to pull out, you could have 2 different things. And so you would just put it in there. Again, mine's color-coded to my kids and my family. This is just a place to put a list of all the things that you would like to do that week. And then I have a waiting on list, which means I've asked somebody to do something or I've ordered something and I'm waiting for someone to come back to me or for it to be delivered. You would put it here so it doesn't leave your brain, but it's kind of being tracked. And then on the horizon means anything that's outside of February that you kind of want to remember, or in weeks ahead and you don't want to write it down yet, you would do it there. And then we get into our dailies. So dailies start with a time bar. These time bars can be used different ways. It's 1 in the morning to midnight, and you would color code it to when you sleep, when you work, if you have any appointments, if you have to be anywhere. You can either use it as what I want my day to look like, or it can be what my day was. So I'll show you mine from yesterday. So I did a lot of work yesterday. So I slept until 5, and then from 5 to 6 I did my miracle morning, and then from about, it's 6:45, but from 7 until almost 8:30 I basically did work and family. So and not fun family, like just dinner, getting kids from school runs, that kind of family. If I have family time that's fun and we're together, I will color code it a little bit differently. I'm trying to see if I have one here. So we spent some time there doing some family time. So I color code different things. Here was 2 different times where I did some self-care. So every day I kind of plan, and I use it as what I have done, not what I'm going to do. And then, as you can see, then you do your weather and your weather icon if you're interested in doing that, and that's what that line is for. And then you just run your list down here. So the way bullet journaling works is I'll bring this back, is that you put a dot for anything that you would like to do or anything that you need to do. That's why it's called bullet journaling. You bullet it, and then if it's done, you cross it off. If it still needs to be done and you haven't done it today, you would put an arrow this way to say I've migrated it forward. So I migrated this one over here, down 1 page or down 1 day. And then if it's put this way, it means that I need to reschedule it, but it's not going to be migrated right away, but I have to think about when I'm going to reschedule that. So that might be something that was on your to-do list. So it would go back, it would stay on your to-do list because it hasn't been done and it has to be rescheduled. So those are the main bullets. So you basically have a bullet for something that needs to be done, a cross meaning it's finished, half a cross means I've worked on it but it's not completely finished, an arrow forward means it's migrated to another, written down somewhere else or migrated, an arrow back means it needs to be rescheduled. I don't have an example here, but if it no longer needs to happen at all, you would just scratch right through it saying no longer irrelevant. Okay, so that's how those work. And at the end of every week, I've done a review. So what was working, what isn't working, and what needs to change. And this is the part of bullet journaling that I think is really important, is the reflection and the migrating. So knowing that you wrote something down and you're like, is it still important? Does it need to be migrated to the next week because I still haven't done it? Or is it really not that important? I should just let it go. And then, how is my week working? Am I liking it? Do I want to change it? And so that's where that comes from. So when you get into your second week, again, you would write your numbers down here, and then you would go back to your first week, the very first week that you had, and all the things that are not have an X through them, that are still left open, and they're still important and need to be done, you put an arrow saying you've migrated it, and you would migrate it to your second week. And this is the part of that Ryder Carroll from Bullet Journaling states you do write things more than once, but it's important because it allows you to reflect on it and make sure that it's what you want to be doing and how you want to be spending your day. And as you go through bullet journaling, you become more and more control of how you spend your day and how you want to do it. So you only write it if it's important, and if it's not important, you're like, forget this, I don't want to do this anymore, and then you get rid of those things that are not important to you. So the rest of the bullet journal is that, it's just the weeks, and you've been given another 2 blank so that you can add whatever you want if you have more spreads that you would like. And then at the very end there is a monthly review, and this is to celebrate this month. So you celebrate your accomplishments, your big events, your projects that you've been working on, what you've completed and what you have coming up. What are you proud of? Things that you want to remember. This can be anything from silly little things that you want to remember, or a quote that you really want to pull out and it's not on your memories page, or it is, but it might be something that when I look back I really want to remember that, or you want to remember the ridiculously cold weather we've had, stuff like that. Something that's kind of really stands out. Then there's also some reflection. What was challenging? How am I different this month? And any personal struggles. And then you add your goals that you really wanted to work on, that you worked on this month, and what are you going to work on next month. And then the last page is blank again. You can use this for whatever you think you might need. It might be a list of things that you want to make sure go into your March one, or things that you want to try in bullet journaling in the future. It's totally up to you. And then the last page is for you to color. So there's a little bit of mandala, I guess that's what that would be, a heart mandala, so you can kind of color and enjoy and hopefully have some relaxing time. So I hope that this was enjoyable and helpful. Please message me or give me any comments, and I would happily oblige. And thank you.